Hi there, this is Dr. Myrdalis Diaz-Ramirez, and this is the Design Your Physician Life podcast. Welcome to this episode brought to you by your Maxillary Mastermind, which is a personal and professional development program for physicians who want to learn entrepreneurship and retake and remain in control of their physician lives. This episode today is super special. We're helping physicians with the help of Jon Armstrong. He's actually the CEO of GetHealthy.store. And today we're going to talk about extending your relationships online through e-commerce. Are you ready? Let's go.
Welcome to the Design Your Physician Life podcast, where you will get excited about being a physician, learn the tools that can help boost your success, and great tips from successful doctors. Join us to unlock the keys to an amazing physician life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Myrdalis Diaz-Ramirez.
Hey guys, we have a great day today. We have Jon Armstrong. He's actually the CEO and founder of Get Healthy Stores. He has a deep background in e-commerce and digital marketing, having run a marketing analytics platform company that was built with Amazon as a first customer. On the wellness side, after receiving a diagnosis of leaky gut, gluten intolerance, and thyroid cancer from a preventive physical, Jon worked on with his functional medicine practitioners and had a comically chaotic customer experience that he's going to talk to us about, navigating multiple third-party resources to purchase supplements and other lifestyle products. He saw a need in the market and decided to build a platform to give patients a better buying experience while helping practitioners better connect with their patients and social followers outside of the clinic. His whole career has been focused on building client relationships to drive better lifetime value into those relationships. Welcome, Jon. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. And yourself?
Good. So we know that you're in Utah right now, getting ready for some extra snow at the time of this recording.
That's
Any
right.
other news from Utah?
No, it's been a crazy winter here in Utah. We've had record snow in some places and continuous snow. And so this week it's looking like we're going to get another 2 or 3 feet. So I'm a big snow skier, so I like it when the snow's here, but I'll be ready for spring.
Yeah. I remember living, it wasn't that much snow in Oregon when I lived there, but yeah, there come the times that you're ready for some extra sun and no snow. So, you've been in e-commerce, and that's a big topic that I see many physicians discussing. We have in our different groups, we've seen different physicians starting their stores, or they have actually partnered with services like yours. And as you say, not always was about you working in the health environment. Tell us about your career before you encountered this series of what you call comical events, and then we'll get into that unfortunate that diagnosis of the leaky gut, the gluten intolerance, and the thyroid cancer.
Well, my career really, the early part of my career, I did management and technology consulting for a large global management consulting company now called Accenture. When I started in the early 90s, it was Anderson Consulting, and they had about 25,000 employees globally. Today, the firm has about 750,000 employees globally and competes with IBM and other large public companies. So, and there is really where I learned a lot about software and technology. And, we ran large, complex software programs, and it helped me understand how to apply technology to business problems. I'm a business guy, but a lot of people think I'm very technical, even though I'm not. I know how to run a software company, but it's been 30 plus years since I've programmed in an ancient language that kids.
Which language?
COBOL.
I used to program in C++ and Pascal.
Yeah,
contemporary languages.
Well, I took a Pascal programming course as an elective in undergrad because I wanted to learn technology, and I liked math, and Pascal, as you know, is a math language. So that was one of my early languages. Pascal, Fortran, and then COBOL is what I used. I did a lot of consulting with large banks, and so a lot of their mainframes run on COBOL then and still do today. But more importantly, I learned how to think and problem solve using logic and math and kind of connect dots, if you will, using my experience from the past and applying it to a business problem. That's it. Because I'm a business guy. I'm a problem solver, if you will.
So then you were like problem solving away in these companies, and then you had your e-commerce and digital marketing companies, and then you went to a wellness check, right?
Yeah.
Like it was a routine checkup.
Yeah. It's a good story. A friend of mine was taking these things that I know now today are called a pill pack. And he had a pill pack of like 4 pills in there, and he had a whole drawer full of them. And I was like, what is this? And he said, hey, this was back probably in like 2005. And he said, there's these new businesses popping up as we've sequenced the DNA and we can do a lot of diagnostic tests. And so these practitioners are, creating these businesses, these wellness businesses where they do these preventative tests. They go look at your DNA, they look at your blood, they analyze it, and they come back to you and suggest lifestyle changes. And he was taking these supplements, and he had a lung issue that he said his whole childhood, early adulthood, et cetera, no traditional doctor could solve. And he said, yeah, I did these tests, and I take these 4 supplements, and these issues I've had my entire life are gone. And so I noted that.
How long did he live with that issue? How old was he? Do you know, more or less?
He was probably 30 years old.
So at least over 20 years of that consciousness of that disease.
Yeah. And so I had always, in my early career, tried to take care of myself doing a standard men's physical every 2 years. And I thought they were fairly useless. It was kind of like, okay, cough, bend over. Yeah, you're fine. They do a blood test. They probably look at like 25 markers or something, and yep, you're good. You're within those ranges that are provided by pharmaceutical companies. And so I was like, those weren't that valuable. And then I ran into this, and make a long story short, in 08, early 08, there was a center. Oh, actually, take a step back. I was at the dentist, and there was a Time magazine, and on the front of the Time magazine, it talked about what we now know as functional medicine. And I opened the article up, and there was this little chart of these 5 centers. And I think one of them was Johns Hopkins. And one of them was this center in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in a town called Southlake. And my brother lived in Southlake at the time, and it was called Executive Medicine of Texas. And I was like, that's down the street from my brother. I'm going to do that. So I called him up, got an appointment, had a half day of all kinds of tests. And, I had several things wrong. But most significantly, they said, hey, we see a cyst in your neck. And we want you to go to an ENT and do a sonogram and see what it is. And, they gave me a doctor that they recommended. And I said, okay, I'll call them up and get an appointment. About a month later, I still hadn't done it. And they called me because it was, this concierge practice. They called me and said, hey, have you set this up? I'm like, oh, no, I haven't done it yet. And they were like, John, this is why you did this. Do you want us to do it? And I said, no, I'll do it. So I did. And, I went to this doctor, and he does a sonogram, and he's sitting there talking to his assistant and looking, at this cyst. And he's describing it. He's like, see this jagged edge and this shadowy portion coming out of this white dot. And, I'm like, I didn't really know what the range of outcomes might be. And he finished and cleaned up my neck, and he pulls a little stool up in front of me and takes off his glasses. And he says, John, I'm pretty sure you have thyroid cancer. And not knowing anything about, anything about thyroid cancer, you just hear that word and it's a little bit of a shock. Fortunately, I caught it early, and it was fully contained in my thyroid, and it was 14 millimeters long. So thyroid cancer is not known to be aggressive, and as long as you catch it early, which I did, I ended up having surgery and taking it out. And interestingly, they took out 7 lymph nodes around it, and he was like, since it was fully contained in the thyroid, don't think there will be any problems, but we'll test these and get back to you in about a week. And he got back to me and he said, well, we had cancer in 2 of the 7. So that makes it a stage 2, but John, it doesn't change your prognosis. So, I eventually did radioactive iodine and have been on, thyroid replacement, forever since then. And the various forms of thyroid that I've used, they work pretty good. And today I'm very healthy. More importantly, it gave me this view into functional medicine.
And you had already had your 2-year checkup with your doctor where your labs were normal, right? Before then.
Well, my labs, when you go to a traditional doctor, labs being normal, it means it's within this range that the pharmaceutical companies set, which is, as we know, maybe not what you want, not optimal, but it's within the range. So, finding the cancer was just by chance, by the fact that I watched my friend taking these pill packs, that I was like, well, I'm going to do this preventative test. Interestingly, at the same time in 2008, a couple different things were coming together for me health-wise. I was at work one day and I've always had acid reflux and gut issues. And this guy at work, I had this pain, and I was like, I'm not a doctor. And he was like, have you ever thought of gluten? And I was like, it was like a light bulb went off, because I was training for a triathlon, and my trainer had said, hey, all whole grains, no white, no white flour, etc. So I was eating whole wheat pasta, drinking wheat beer, having wheat tortillas. I was in effect overdosing on gluten, and it had gone from a manageable problem to this pain that I was like, and so this light bulb went off, and I don't have a super addictive personality, so I was like, I'm done with gluten. And that was in the middle of 2008. And so I'm on 15 years of being off gluten pretty strictly. I avoid gluten at all costs. So that started my journey of being even healthier and trying to be proactive with my health. And then the last factor that came together in 2008 is I was living in a high rise in downtown Austin. And my neighbor was a lady that many of your audience probably know or have heard of. Her name is Dr. Amy Myers. And Amy and I became friends. We walked our dogs together, and she had just gotten out of ER school and had told me, she said, well, I got my MD in to be an emergency physician, but I'm doing that just in the short term. I'm going to build a functional medicine practice. And I studied under a guy named Dr. Mark Hyman, and she told me what it was and what she was going to do. And, Amy and I are still friends today. And, but I watched her, in that decade after that, building her practice. She wrote the book, The Autoimmune Solution, which was very well received. She did on TV, et cetera. But at the same time, online, she created this this brand, the Myers Way, Dr. Amy Myers. Today, her brand is AMMD, the Myers Way. And she built this store that was branded and owned by her, and as an extension of her practice. I looked at that, and given my background in e-commerce, I asked Dr. Myers, I was like, why don't most practitioners do that? Because that is the best practice. We're in a relationship business. I think everybody would agree with that. And you're wanting to work with somebody, if you could, from cradle to grave, and you want to work not just with mom, but you want to work with mom and then her family. She's the buyer for the family, et cetera. And so I started, I had finished running a company in the mid 2010s and was looking at different opportunities, and started doing some research with another guy that had some healthcare background. And I was like, as I talked to practitioners, they were like, yeah, I'd love to have my own store. But, and this is some of the feedback that Dr. Myers gave me, it's like, it's hard. You got to hire a developer. You got to figure out where your products are going to be. You got to run customer service. You got to do sales taxes, which online sales taxes are, very, very difficult and complex. So that really was the genesis of GetHealthy.store today. Is, my background of being a patient, my experience working with various practitioners were, well, here, go to this distributor for this, and I have some private labels over here, and go to this patient direct of this supplement company. And, let's talk about lifestyle changes, like, what home cleaning products are you using? Are you buying the ones from the grocery store and spraying them all over your house? I'm like, well, yeah, what else do you do? And they're like, well, those cause endocrine disruption, not only in us as humans, but your pets. You see your pets get sick all the time. Well, that's might be a contributor. And so that's where I started to learn about what I call the integrative health spectrum of products. Practitioners, it's not just supplements. It really starts with good nutrition, supplementation when necessary, doing diagnostic tests, being able to understand what the body's telling you, and then figuring out what the root cause is. And, the interventions can range from, things as basic as changing your nutrition, which we know is very difficult to comply with at times. But also, I love talking about something like allergies. We all know that histamine intolerance starts in the gut, manifests itself throughout our nasal passages, et cetera, at times, but can be influenced by things like the air that we breathe. So, if you think of a set of products that a health and wellness practitioner might suggest, they might have some gut supplements. They might talk about nutrition, like the fact that dairy causes your histamines to flare at times. They might have a histes to solve some of the manifestations of that histamine intolerance. And then they might suggest an air filtration system for your home to get rid of things that we breathe that might be causing that as well.
I have a very personal story about that, actually. Being a physician and a mom for, let's say, a few years, we spent in the emergency room with my daughter, and, never talking about just treating symptoms, right? Oh, she's allergic, or actually it wasn't allergic. It was asthma that they were diagnosing with my daughter, her with, and emergency room visits, 4 hours in the emergency room, very, constantly, time after time after time. And I said, you know what, there should be a different solution to this. And one day I got a huge box, and then I put all the normal cleaning products in that box, and I substituted all with natural cleaning products throughout my whole house. Never again have I had to go to the emergency room with her. Never again did she require a therapy with albuterol. She does have some exercise induced, but that's extremely rare. Never again we had to do that. And there's research that says that many of these products are, on not only the allergies, they can be as worse as secondhand smoking, as bad as secondhand smoking. So it's and it's something that we live with and patients suffer with. And then in your case, you've taken not only like the supplements that you have, but also natural cleaning products and things that help patients. And then you're able to bundle them and then get them and purchase them through your site in packages, and the physicians can get these into their practices, right?
Yeah, I mean, a couple points there that I'd make. First off, you say our store. It's not our store. One of the things when I looked at this industry, I think we would all agree
it's called Get Healthy Stores.
Yeah, that's right. It's to get healthy. But we build and manage custom e-commerce stores for doctors and wellness professionals, because when I did my research and kind of came up with the thesis behind the company, I think the most important aspect of this entire industry is the practitioner-patient relationship, or the practitioner-reader of good content that practitioners are posting out to social, email, blog. Okay. So because that is the crux of the whole industry, then I wanted to feature that. I wanted to make sure that the online presence of any practitioner is an extension of their practice. It's as important as, if somebody has a physical clinic, then they're going to go to extreme efforts to make sure it's comfortable, it's aesthetic pleasing, that when they walk in, they're going to be greeted by somebody. That experience in a physical sense is the start of that relationship. Or if you're doing telehealth, same thing. It's, hey, how are you doing? It's creating a bond, a trust that then extends hopefully through, months and years of being able to help somebody with their health. So given my background, I like to use the analogy. I'm like, what if Amazon only sold books? Well, Amazon wouldn't be Amazon, so it would just be this book site that we go to. And, if a practitioner is wanting to extend their relationship outside of a physical interaction, which almost everybody today, if not everybody, and especially in a post-COVID world where people are shopping more online, et cetera. So that was one of the cornerstones, is to have that practice branded store that the practitioner owns, and for them to have one store, because you want people to come back and buy when you're not doing clinical work, as an example. And one of the things, the mantra that I hear in this industry sometimes, I want to make money while I'm sleeping. I want to influence people's health. But so how you do that is to extend your relationship online. And so that's like the crux. But it's not just supplements. I love your story about home cleaning products. Then we have a brand called Truly Free Home that has all kinds of great, healthy, very well thought out products that don't contain a lot of those things that we can't pronounce in ingredients, and that
phthalates and chlorine and all that stuff.
phthalates, all that. But I always like to say they usually have a Z in them or an X in the name of it.
pH somewhere.
You can't pronounce it. So, we embarked on creating a network of product providers, suppliers, not just supplements, so that practitioners could come and have their store, and then with the click of a button, they could get access to thousands and thousands of products. So in addition to doctor grade supplements, there's food and nutrition, home products, personal care, equipment. And then if you start thinking about how you go to market, we have diagnostic tests, video training curriculum, just basically that integrative health spectrum of products. And you don't have to send your buyers to go chase their tail. That was my experience. Be like, well, go here, go there, go to this affiliate, go here. It's all in a single store. And that makes for a better relationship experience on the front end. So as an extension of that practice, because the goal is to create a shopping experience. And we all have had this where we feel comfortable with somewhere that we shop. It used to be in the malls, now it's online. Fortunate or unfortunate, for a lot of us, the default behavior is, hey, I need something, I'm going to go to Amazon. And we all know that from a supplement perspective, because it's an open marketplace and anybody can be on there, oftentimes there's a bunch of stuff that's not as of high quality as you would like. And, many practitioners complain about, oh, I do all the diagnosis and then I lose somebody to Amazon. Well, that's what we're trying to solve for you, is to help you very easily have a practice branded store, and then for you to have a shopping experience. So you could go, not only select your favorite supplements, merchandise them in protocols or programs or bundles, however you do. And then you could sit there and say, okay, like my example with allergies, or your example with home cleaning products, it's like, I want to have skincare, oral care, sexual health, home products, infrared saunas, air filters, etc. And so that's what we've done. We've already done the heavy lifting, if you will. We're integrated with those companies so that you don't have to pre-purchase any of that inventory. And with a click of a button, it can be on your store. You can be selling it tomorrow. And then it allows you to focus your time on creating things that are of value, creating programs, creating bundles, et cetera. So that really is the magic here, is the ease of use, but also then connecting that practitioner's relationship and extending it outside of just a physical clinical work. And then over time, I love using the example of mom. If mom's your buyer, and let's say your mom's you're working with mom on her hormones. Well, we all know mom has a lot more purchases in her. She's the buyer for the family. She feels responsible to keep everybody healthy. So, if you have a well-architected store and you have a category that says children's or a category that says men's, then she probably is going to have some likelihood to go buy
and pets.
And pets, we have some pet supplements. Those are becoming more and more popular. But she's gonna buy for her family, and then a few weeks later, she's gonna come back and buy some things that you didn't suggest. You just need some iron, some C, some D, whatever it may be. And then the broader extension of her purchasing power is when you, as a practitioner, let's say, write a blog post on the benefits of detoxifying the body with an infrared sauna, and you post it, you send it out to your email list, post it on social, and you put a link back into your store to your favorite infrared sauna. And she's like, oh, my husband and I have been talking about that. Here, my practitioner is suggesting this one. And she reads that blog post, and, next thing you know, she's bought a $1,000, $2,000 infrared sauna from you because it's on your store. So, those cross sells, upsells, future sales that you wouldn't have gotten unless you were doing clinical work or engaging in some way. That's what we focus in on, is how can we help you engage and then create a shopping experience under your brand as an extension of your practice.
I have so many questions. Like, from the how it works to like numbers. So normally I'm a physician and I want to start a store, right? And then I say, hey, or I talk to you people, I want to get a GetHealthy.store in my website. So tell us a little bit about the process there. And then after that, I want to talk about a little bit more logistics in terms, when is a good time that makes financial sense to the clinician, to the physician, to start their store, and average of purchases and all these things that are happening in terms of numbers. So first, I want to open a GetHealthy store. What do I do?
Well, we set you up with an account manager. It's one of the things that's different than if we're like, well, I'm going to go get a Shopify and try to build it myself. Well, we're going to give you an account manager, and they're going to go through and kind of do a demonstration and show you. We've been building an industry-specific software platform. So not only do we have that e-commerce front end, but we have a clinical dispensary on the back end. And you and your practice, your team members will use that to administer and to work with the store, but you don't have to do all the minutia that we do to manage the tech, the ops, the customer service, the sales taxes, the supply chain, et cetera. So we'll take you through a little demo, and then we get to building your site. It takes about a week. The one thing that you have to do is you have to select products. Okay. And so we give you an initial form to where you can go through all the brands, all the Zymogen, Designs for Health, Biotics, Pure Encapsulations, Douglas, all those big brands, but also the lifestyle products. And you just click which products you want to have on your store. One of the things to note, you don't want to have everything from everybody. There is this thing in e-commerce called paradox of choice, where if you have too many things, then we get overwhelmed as consumers and we bail and go to Amazon. We're like, I'm just going to go buy what I know. So you have to go through a selection process. There's a few other things we'll ask you. Are there specific bundles that you regularly suggest, or protocols? We'll want to create those, because we put those on your store, so they're easily findable by your buyers as well as you and your staff when you're using the dispensary tool. And then when we have that input for you, it takes about a week to build the store. Okay. Now, if you have private labels, we can put private labels on your store as well. We can warehouse those. So those things take a little bit more time to coordinate. We got to get your product images. Typically, we already have the product descriptions from the manufacturers, all the big manufacturers that are on the platform. So if you're using Zymogen, let's say, you just give us a mapping of which products are the underlying products. We have all those descriptions, but we put that onto that same store. So you can start using it in a week. I tell folks to walk before you run. You can tweak your store continuously. You have the tools at your fingertips. So, it really is, start with a set of things that that are specific to what you're doing. Make sure that you round it out a little bit. So let's say your audience is women. You're maybe a traditional OB-GYN. We'll make sure you put children's products on there as well, because mom's going to buy for her children. We know that. So that's really the extent of it. The one thing you mentioned about connecting it to your marketing site, if you have one. You don't have to have one, but if you do, it's super easy. You just have a navigation tab that says store. And when you click that store button, it goes to your store. It's all, your store is, you own it. You own the customer data. It's your logo, your colors, the transactions are from you, et cetera. It's just, we manage it all so that you don't have to worry about the tech part of it.
Do you have any integrations with any EHR, or are thinking about that for the future?
We do. We have an existing integration with Power to Practice, and we also are headed down that same path with Servo. And we do have the ability for people that have lifestyle apps on the front end. We're a software company, and so we have the framework, we have the APIs, if you will, but we have the framework for front end apps, lifestyle apps. So if you have a nutrition app, et cetera, we then could connect it to your store, just like we've done with Power to Practice today.
We have one, actually. It's not a lifestyle. It's called talking about brands, Repeat MD, where we do rewards for patients, and then they can use our apps, and then you can connect there for the aesthetic world. You can plug in. So maybe that's something that Get Healthy stores can do in the future.
We listen to our clients a lot. We have a roadmap of things we're going to deliver. It's interesting. You say we have a rewards program. We want to deliver a loyalty program later this year, and it's not a frequent purchase program, although buying would give the buyer credits, because we all know points work. But we're going to develop a loyalty program for the practice to use for any event that's of value to the practice. You can put a value on. So as like a referral, or a sick visit, or an annual visit, or a purchase, and give somebody reason to continue to come back to you as a practice. So it's a good example of it's something that's been on our radar, and because we are a software company, we'll build that and implement it and then make it available. We all give you another example. We're about to release functionality that'll give you access to 2,600 diagnostic tests from about every testing company you can think of, ZRT, Genova, et cetera. And those are going to be accessible in your store. And then
so you're going to be like competing with Rupa?
Rupa is a testing provider. So, and they're kind of a standalone. What the feedback that we get from the market with practitioners is they want to put a diagnostic, but it's not just the diagnostic, it's the diagnostic plus the consultation plus the intervention. It's a product, and maybe it's a follow-up diagnostic and a follow-up service. So with our technology, you can put a service on there as well. And that's really where the practitioner is making their money in the testing world. Rupa is kind of a standalone. We're integrating with another, Rupa is a testing aggregator. We're integrating with Evexia Diagnostics, which is another testing aggregator, but it'll be a seamless usage where you can embed that test in a program, market that program on your store. And then when it's purchased, the notification goes to the testing company. When the test comes back and the results are available, that'll go to the practitioner as well as the patient, so they then can collaborate either in person or online through the Vexia collaboration tool. And that's all integrated into your store. It's not, one of the things you asked early on about pitfalls that I've seen, and practitioners, the thing that I think all of us as supporters and vendors, if you will, of practitioners should be thinking about it. How can we take as much off their shoulders so that they can spend more time with their audience, with their people that are influencing? That's really their expertise. So I see a lot of people who, they have their favorite test companies, but typically they're using 2 or 3 different test companies, and how you order them and how you get results and all that is totally different. And then they get the results, then they got to take that into, I got to get an appointment, set up. And you're a physician, you understand this. There's just a lot of steps in the process. And so our goal over time is to stitch all that together. It's like I have people that come to us and they're like, well, I want to use a learning management system with my store, and I want to put it in a program, and that program would have a video training, and then there's a diagnostic, and then and they're trying to stitch that together themselves. And the various components of technology and process that has to come together is a lot and takes a lot of time. And so oftentimes practitioners are doing that in a one-off. They're sending a few people to buy from FullScript as a distributor, and then they got some private labels in their clinic, and then they have 10 different affiliates. Or the other day I had a guy who had 80 different affiliates downstream, and he was like, this is the bane of my existence. He goes, how do I know if somebody bought something? I got to go sign on to 80 different systems, and he goes, in your model, I sign on to my clinical admin, and I have a reporting tab that shows me sales by every one of my companies, including all these, what has traditionally been termed an affiliate. So that is, we're trying to take that burden off of the shoulders and off of the time suck that it creates for practitioners, and make it seamless for them to be able to use a single tool.
So I see, we talked about this briefly when we had some dinner the other day, and I was telling you, what about the startup? Because you might say, oh, I want to start them, from the beginning, and there's a monthly fee, obviously, for this service. Comparing a startup that doesn't have, patients yet to somebody who has 100 patients in their practice, 1,000 patients, 10,000, like for many practitioners, where do you see Get Healthy stores being the most successful? At which level for the practitioners?
Well, one of the things we've mapped out what we call our customer journey, which is the life cycle of a practitioner. Okay, because we know there are different needs as you grow and as you become more sophisticated, et cetera. In fact, an early comment I got from one of our long-term practitioners, she said, John, when I first started, I used FullScript because it was easy. and easy was what I needed. She said, but real quickly, I figured out that the limitations of, you're sending your audience, and, FullScript is primarily for clinical work, but you're sending them to some third party. You don't have any control over that. You don't know what they're going to buy, et cetera. But she goes, I've been generating good content now for, at the time, it was like, 18 months. So she was very early career. And she's like, I have 7,000 followers. And those 7,000 followers, I'm trying to influence their health, and I am. And I want to be able to connect products to them. But when I give them a link to an affiliate, or to my page, to an affiliate link page, and they got to find a link, then they got to click over, and then they're going to some third party, and I don't own the customer experience. I just want them to be able to buy from me. So, there is some aspect of, hey, it's super easy to go to a third party. Maybe it's a patient direct of your favorite brand as well. Still, though, if you start thinking long term, you want to build that relationship. So we have a $99 package. Okay, it's $99 a month, that you still get a custom store, you get an account manager, you get a whole bunch of support and tools all integrated. You get access to those tests. You don't have to go do it one off. So, there may be a time when you're first starting out and you don't have a lot of clients, or you don't have any followers on email or social or anything that you're not wanting to spend some extra money. I can understand that. But we want to live with you through the customer journey. You're not going to outgrow us. Most likely you're going to outgrow sending somebody to some third party. That is what we see over time. And that happens almost to everybody. They're like, well, I'm still using them because it's easy, but it's just such a bad experience now, because, now I do create content and I do these other things, and I'm on a podcast, and, our goal is all along for you to have one store that you own, that's under your practice, and give you the ability to create a good customer experience, so that they think of you as their health provider, and they're coming back to you when they want to buy that next thing. So I think you start early, but I can understand if there's some, spending that $99 a month is more than somebody maybe initially want to do. But we're trying to meet you there, because we know long term, and real quickly, I mean, you're producing good content, with all the channels. As an example, we saw TikTok this year or last year, explode in terms of viewing. Now, people aren't typically buying from a short video, but that's creating awareness. It's that top of funnel, and that then turns into followers in social and followers of your blog, and those eventually turn into buyers. So one thing too, let me make this point. There's a lot of consultancies in our industry that help people with customer acquisition. That could be, a Big Boost Marketing, a Mindshare Collaborative. And a lot of those groups have taught how to create a funnel. And that funnel is to hopefully get more patients. That's your win, is when you get a new patient. Well, product sales are a much easier first sell, first engagement, if you will, with buying from you. So one of the reasons why we started this company is we want to help you monetize those customers you get. So as you as physicians are spending some money, learning the business side of things about how to acquire customers, just know that it's the same flow, where somebody can first buy a bundle from you, buy an allergy bundle or something. So that all needs to come together eventually. It's just when can you afford to invest a little bit in your online presence to meet that relationship that you're hoping to build.
That's awesome. Tell us about, when you've been working now with physicians for some time, is there any things that you see that is a challenge for physicians that they're not doing either quick enough, or they should learn in a different way to do so that they're more successful in their practices?
Well, I hired a naturopathic doctor, a practicing naturopathic doctor, who was working for a supplement company for 5 or 6 years prior to me running into her. And for the past year and a half or so, she's been running a lot of tests on her own. what works, what doesn't work, what channels should you use, how do channels work together. And one of our biggest learnings, it goes back to one of my initial pillars of providing a turnkey solution. But, it's not just if you build it, they will come. If you have a store, they're going to come. Just like if you build your physical presence, you think people are just going to walk in the door. You have to do some marketing in some way. You got to get yourself known. You got to write a book, or you got to. So, but one of the things that she learned over time was, oftentimes practitioners know what they're good at, know what their expertise or what they're passionate about, etc. But how to execute the minutia of, okay, well, I can create a piece of content, okay, either a video or a blog, blog post, let's say, and that's becoming easier and easier with AI tools like ChatGPT, with a little bit of management. There have been some crazy things that are happening with ChatGPT, but it's a good starting point for good content. So now you have content, but what do you do? So we're giving you all the infrastructure to from a technology, customer service, suppliers, et cetera, to make that very easily. But the last closing of the loop, if you will, is helping somebody with creation of images to post to the different social channels, giving them and working with them on a calendar. When do I do what? How often do I do that? And so in fourth quarter this past year, we actually created a program, and it was titled something around staying fit through the holidays. But we created the email to send out to your audience, the digital media assets, a calendar of exactly what to do. We created training sessions on all of this. And then for some of them, we actually executed their social, et cetera. So a full turnkey solution. So, one of the things that you learn early on as an entrepreneur is you can't do everything. Okay. And so what's your differentiated expertise? And I think in our industry, it's that training that you've got, that passion that you have to help somebody with their health and wellness. But maybe you're not the expert in social media, or in, you got to get a graphic designer, unless you're a graphic designer, to do your imagery. So we bundled that together and said, well, we'll make, we have a network of folks that you could use to do those things. And we saw our practitioners that participated in that program, got that training for they and their staffs, executed on this calendar, took the assets that we created for them, that were branded for them, et cetera. Their revenues increased 220% month over month using those programs. So that's something that, we implemented a learning management system last year to allow practitioners to house content there, house their video training curriculum, but then use it with their store, use it in their practice. So that is, the last part of the loop, if you will, where, and you may have heard this, where a lot of practitioners feel like they go to some type of training, some type of consultancy or mind share, et cetera, and they now know what to do. They just need help doing it. And that is what the big differentiator between us and a distributor, et cetera, third party. We're going to help you sell. We're going to give you an account manager, and we're going to help you with social media and integrating that with your store. And that is where the rubber hits the road, and you actually add more value to your audience, and therefore you derive more value out of that audience. That's what we do.
Oh my goodness. I think I could stay talking here all day long about this topic. It's amazing how, you've developed a tool with so many subsets of tools there to help the clinicians and the physicians really able to service their patients in so many other ways that we normally don't do. Where can people find, if I want to get a Get Healthy store for my patients, where can I do that, and where can they get a hold of you?
Well, our website is GetHealthy.store. Make sure it's not .com. There's some defunct company from about 10 years ago at GetHealthy.com, but GetHealthy.store. And there's some good information out there. My personal email address, and I'll I love doing initial calls because I learn so much. I ask a lot of questions and learn pain points. So my email is Jon with no H, so JON at GetHealthy.store. We have account managers that manage different areas. So we'll connect you with an account manager and start down that journey of looking at a demonstration of the value that we add. And let me also say, I've started a podcast on Fridays at 11 Eastern called Friday Live, The Business of Health and Wellness. And it is really about driving better, lifetime value into your practice and therefore out of your practice, using your online presence, your relationships, and your commerce store. So you can find GetHealthy.store in all the social channels, and you can access past ones. But those really they're 30 minutes long. So we try to keep them real narrowly focused and talk about individual topics, and we'll continue to. It's me and some other folks on my team, but that is an ongoing education about e-commerce best practices in this industry. So that's some way to engage with us as well.
Any other final thoughts? Any other tips for our physician listening to this podcast today?
Well, my biggest suggestion is to think of yourself, your business. You're an entrepreneur. You've gotten this great training, and it's always perplexed me why people are outsourcing their online experience for purchasing. And so think of yourself as a brand, as a personality in your sphere of influence, however small or however big that is. And we find over time that practitioners will have thousands and real quickly, and then tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of followers in the different channels, email, clinical business, etc. That's a relationship, and you need to be thinking about relationship selling under your brand, not sending to third parties. Okay, so that would be my final parting thought of just it's more of a mentality of how can I add value every day, and that engagement with my audience, and over time that creates a special bond that will result in a lot better value that you can deliver and therefore derive out of those relationships, and you can achieve the lifestyle that you want while still influencing thousands of people's health.
Well, thanks, Jon, for this amazing time, for your knowledge, your passion, your availability to us. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart, and I hope to see you soon again.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the time, and thank you for everybody's time for listening.
Hey guys, that's it for today. Thank you for joining us for this wonderful conversation with Mr. Jon Armstrong, CEO of GetHealthy.store. You can go to his website if you want a website for yourself. You can also email him directly at jon@gethealthy.store. And you can also check out his podcast. His podcast is called Friday Live, The Business of Health and Wellness. I hope that you join us for more podcasts, that you visit our website, maxallure.com, maxallure, if you want to learn about how you can achieve regaining and retaking and remaining in control of your physician life through our Physician Entrepreneurship Mastermind. I'll see you later. Thank you. Bye.
Please remember that Design is not providing specific financial, medical, or career advice. Our only intent is to stimulate your appetite for growth by sharing our experience and those of our speakers, coaches, and guests. Your personal growth and success will be unique to your circumstances and your hard work. We sincerely hope you enjoyed the show and look forward to seeing you next week.